we had a really nice conversation about this topic, but it was a short form. So Hey Nonprofits Raise More Money is our podcast, and
Mhm.
it's typically 20 minutes or less. Sometimes we have a guest, it might stretch to 30 minutes if we're really riffing. And then Jason and I had a lovely conversation. It's free wherever you consume your pods on Apple or Spotify. Check out Hey Nonprofits Raise More Money. We just dropped a new episode this morning about this focus and intention about raising money, and planning for the year and not, chasing your tail, so to speak. And Jason was, I listened to it this morning. Jason was lovely. So we're going to
Oh,
go
well, thanks.
longer. Yeah. I love the webinar. Even if we cover the same topics, I love the webinar so we can get some interaction from folks, and we'll go a little bit longer. So we'll have you
Mhm.
out of here within an hour. And want me to just get right into it, bro?
Yeah, let's get going.
Yeah, episode 143. Happy New Year, everybody. Thanks so much. I think there's a trend going along. I don't want to sound like a broken record. I think there's really something going around. Terry, our guest, has a staff member that he's covering for that fell ill. And so because of this sickness that's sweeping across the country, because everyone's getting sick at some point or another, it seems lately, he's not going to be able to make it. So it's just us. So I hope everyone's okay with that.
I promise you, it's going to be worth your time.
I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be great. That's Jason Ledlow. I'm Trevor Nelson. We're with HGA Fundraising. If this is your first time here, yes, thank you so much
Thanks,
for
Paula.
coming. Yeah,
Appreciate it.
I guess so. Yeah, well, you don't have to buckle your seatbelt or anything like that. You can leave it anytime. No, but thanks so much, everybody, for coming. This is really a joy for us. Episode 143 of this series kicks off for the first time in 2024, and we're talking about why you should not wait to plan your fundraising for the year. Do not wait. Do it now. Start now. And Jason's got his word of the year, his term of the year behind him. It's focus. And we're going to do a little deep dive on that and how it applies to your fundraising and why you shouldn't wait and why you need to be proactive and put that work in now to sow the seeds that you're going to be harvesting in the future from a fundraising perspective. And yeah, thanks everybody for being here. If you have any questions, this is going to be an interactive webinar as they always
Mhm.
are. Please, chat feature, Q&A function at the bottom of the screen, state of the end and win. We're going to do a really fun drawing for a cool prize at the end that you can use at your next event that you can plan with. But yeah, without further ado, Jay, let's just start
Yeah.
ranting
Oh,
about why
one
you got to
last thing.
plan.
If you're watching this on a recording, because we know a lot of people are when you watch it on YouTube or
Yeah,
see the
good call.
recording, please give us a comment. If you agree, disagree, if you have a question, please engage with us. Do us a favor, like and share. Give us a rating in this because it really means a lot because it helps our reach to get out there to more people because we just want to get this
Subscribe.
information out. So whenever you subscribe and like, that's very, very helpful. And for all that you that are joining today, we do have asked that one fee. It's free, but there is a fee. And that fee is whenever you get the recording, it'll be tomorrow. You'll get a recording of this. Share this with maybe a coworker, somebody else that needs to hear this, another nonprofit professional. We really want to just, most of this is word of mouth, how we get this out. And so we really appreciate the help on that. So,
That would be much
we were
appreciated.
talking about, Trevor and I were talking about um, this topic and I put something together, kind of to go along with it, and I'll get to that in just a second. But the best time to start your fundraising for your next fundraiser is after the previous one, immediately, the day after. Now, I know everybody goes, whoa, I just went through I just got through the meat grinder. But if you plan all these things out and you do it in a methodical method, it's not, and it's coming, it's not reactive, it's proactive, then you can plan how this all goes. And so the first thing I want you all to do, or I want you to consider, is that this is something that never stops. It never goes. It's not like, oh my gosh. And I know everybody here is doing multiple jobs. I know that.
Yep.
I mean, I do. And I, that's why we put this out, is because we want to help you, because we know how hard it is, the job that you're doing. And most everybody here is short staffed. I've never met anybody in the nonprofit world. They said, yeah, we've got too many people.
Yeah.
Now they may have, you may have cuts and downsizing and changes go and things like that. But I'm saying where it says, yeah, we've got plenty of resources. That's never the case. And so we know that you have to do a lot, but if these things are done, you can do them along with other tasks throughout the year. It's just a matter of planning. But what I want you to do, and the reason the word focus is so important, is because it's got to focus on certain things. Focus on the big things that are going to make the most difference in your event. And the first thing that I find it's real interesting. It's always interesting to me because we're fortunate we get to coach lots of nonprofits all over the country. We get to see stuff literally from coast to coast, and it's all the same.
Mm.
I'm telling you, if you think somebody's got it better in another state, they don't.
Yeah.
It's there may be little tiny little nuances that are different just from cultural perspective, but other than that, it's all the same. And literally, whether it's in Seattle, Miami, Portland, Maine, or Southern California, anywhere in between, it doesn't matter whether it's in Idaho, Indiana, or South Texas, it is all the same. And everybody has these same struggles. Everybody has the same overwhelmed feeling, or they're, I don't have enough, bandwidth to make it all happen. So hopefully this will be very helpful for you. But one of the things that I have found that's really intriguing to me is one of the first questions that we always ask somebody is, how much money do you want to raise? And surprisingly, that's not a question. They'll say, well, we'd like to do something. Well, it's going to be something. Not everybody. A lot of people have a specific goal. They know exactly what they've got to raise. But a lot of times they don't.
Right.
And the reason I think that's so important is if you don't know where you're going, how in the world are you going to know how you're going to get there? So
Yeah.
the very first word in the focus, I kind of made this an acronym, so I hope you'll just bear with me.
We like acronyms.
It's not the most cleverest of all world, but it's there. But is to have a financial goal. The very first thing that you've got to do for your event is have a financial goal. I'm not talking about your budget. I'm not talking about anything else for this event. And when I'm talking about it, I'm saying net dollars. Net dollars. So if I'm going to raise $100,000, that means that is after every bill has been paid, all the expenses, I've got 100,000. Okay.
Yep.
So that's how we think in things. We think in terms of net dollars. So I really just, that's the first thing. And if you're not really sure, and some people say, well, I'm going to go back and, and I don't know what to do. We're going to try to get a 10% increase. Okay. I don't care whatever you come up with, but this is something that needs to be done really from a full on value. I mean, how much is it? How much of your budget does this event make up?
Yeah.
If it's only 5%, well, that's a whole lot different than one if it's 50% or 60 or 70%. So this is important to understand. What do I need to raise? Because unless I know where I'm going to go, I can't possibly map out the path to get there. And
Right.
just saying, well, we're going to send out some invitations. We're going to get some items, just whatever comes in the door. And then we're going to cross our fingers and pray and hope that, we have a good fundraiser, that we make it. Boy, that's no way to run a business. And if anybody's doing that, obviously, any in depth on this stuff, sign up for a coaching session. We'll go through it. But that's the first thing is you got to have a financial goal. The second thing, and this is the part that always gets left to the end, and this is outreach.
Mm.
Outreach is it's so important to focus on because these are the things that are going to move the needle. These are the things, everything I'm going to talk about is what's going to make or break your event for 2024. There's a lot of money in the system right now, a lot. Now, I don't know how long that's going to last. Inflation's up, all these things, but there is a lot of money. People that have the ability to give are giving significantly. We saw it all through 2024. It kept getting stronger, and it has not let off at all. We have a real unique picture into it because the trips and experiences that we sell, not only do we sell them at the event, we offer them for you to make money at them at the event, and we're seeing them bring record numbers. But we're also seeing people as they're booking this, the appetite for it. Okay.
Yeah.
They're not waiting. They're booking these, they're going, and they're, sometimes even expanding them to be even more because this is what they want to do. They've got money. Money's not a problem.
Yeah.
So that we've got a real view into where the economy is. And we're only talking about the top 10%. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's all be real deal. This is not necessarily my budget, but this is the budget of the people, the donors that are buying our trips and experiences that are in the top 10% of our givers.
Tremendous amount of
We
money.
all know that there's a lot, and typically if you look at from the socioeconomic level, everybody that comes to your events in the top 10%.
Yeah.
It's just the reality.
Or they're giving significantly. Yeah.
They've got a capacity to give to some level, and they're in the top 10% of earners. And so that's where it really comes down to. So that's just kind of the world we live in. So keep those things in mind, but outreach to these partners. And when I talk about outreach, I want, it's time to pick up the phone and start talking to our stakeholders, the people that we our biggest fans, and gratitude. We've talked about gratitude a lot in the last couple of weeks prior to coming up to the end of the year,
Yeah.
being gratitude. But it's also a great time where we reach out and start to talk and have the conversation about what we want to do, and asking and inviting them to be a part. If you've got somebody that's a key donor, and they've always been a key donor, I want to start reaching out to them now to start getting their feedback, hearing what they have to say, telling them the impact that they have and what we can do, and then inviting them to be a part of that organization, whether they are going to come back as a key sponsor,
Yeah.
whether they're going to be part of a committee, whether they're going to chair that committee, be on the committee. Maybe they've never, done it, and they say, yeah, I'd like to. So this is the time. You don't want to
Yeah.
wait until 60 days before your event and start reaching out to people. This is the time that you're going out and talking to those folks that are going to be your $50,000 donor. Maybe because of your financial goal, got my fingers right,
I
pointing
love
the right
that.
way,
Yeah. Yeah. It's
because the
good.
financial goal, I've got to really change my outreach, because we've had some changes. There's a grant that we're not going to get this year. We
Yep.
need another $50,000.
Yep. You said something
Okay.
really good on the pod the other day about this too. It's like, maybe the biggest sponsor you've ever had is 25, but this year it needed to be 50. Get on the phone. Start doing that now. You can't
Oh, for
expect this
sure.
just to happen in 2 weeks, and start having those conversations, like you said, with the outreach now. And even if you're not, so to speak, like losing grants and things of that nature, and you're just pushing the envelope because you're going to serve more people, and you want that $50,000 sponsor for the first time because you're moving the needle. Absolutely, got to get on the phone. Got to start making those
Mhm.
connections, and fortifying those relationships even further because of the ask that you're going to make.
And rather, if your event's in November, if it's in February, it doesn't matter. All these things
Totally,
still apply, and they're
you can still
still
have a
the things that you have
conversation.
to focus on,
Yep.
because we're going to get a lot of things coming at us, and you can either be reactive or you can be proactive.
Hmm.
All the successful fundraisers that we're associated with, that we work with, that we observe and see, are
Yep.
very proactive. They do not wait. They
Yep.
don't wait to see what's going to happen. They make a decision and they follow it through. And that's going
Absolutely.
to bring up to the next one. And this is a really important, is commit.
Yep.
If you, as a fundraising professional, do not commit to the financial goal and commit to these things, no one else will either.
Yeah. Good call. Especially if you're a leader, especially if you're an executive
If
director.
you're the director of development, the executive director, the committee chair, board president, what,
You got
I
to
don't
set the
care where
tone.
you're sitting.
Yeah.
It's your job to lead.
Yeah.
LEAD, lead. You've got to be the one to do it, not wait for somebody else. And we see this with people that are, they're not sure. Well, I'm not sure what my committee's going to think. I'm going to let you all in on a secret. I've been doing this for 30 years. The committee and the board are all waiting.
They'll follow
Whenever
you.
somebody, does anybody have any idea? And they all turn around and they look at the executive director or that
Hmm.
director of development. What do you think?
Hmm.
And if the director of development says, well, here's what I've done. I've done the research. I've done the work. I came up with 3 options. 1, 2, 3. Here's the ones. You guys choose which one you want to do. They're all 3. The outcome's going to be the same, but here's the 3 paths that we've chosen as a staff to give you. They love that.
Absolutely. They need direction.
That because they're not the professional.
They're there to support you.
They're exactly, and they don't have all the information that you do. You can give them all the information,
Yep.
but they're not living it. They don't
Good
have
call.
that. They don't have all that stuff. They're living their life. This is something they come and they spend a week, they spend, 1 day a month, and then when it gets closer, they're spending 1 day a week, and then they go to the event. And if you talk to them, I'll give you a great example. So I have a organization, and I sent some stuff over to them. It's an all male event. Okay, so it's all guys, 600 guys in the room. They're all drinking scotch, watching boxing and fights and MMA and doing that. And they have an auction and they're at stuff. So I sent over I told them what I thought would be good, but the one that they zeroed in on was this wild boar hunt, Italian boar hunt in Italy. Now it's an awesome trip. It is. It's a fantastic trip, but they zeroed in on this, and I said, well, you still want to get something that's going to appeal to the masses. This is kind of something specific we have that is for a very specific group. It's a very specific thing that was
Mhm.
asked. We were asked for some folks, but I said, it's here. You do what you want to do. But the reason is because that's not what they do every day. So they picked up on this, and eventually, common sense prevailed. They decided to withdraw that. They're not going to do that. They're going to do an Italian villa. It's going to everybody in the room is going to want, and they're going to get more participation. They'll raise a bunch of money. They're very,
Right.
very good fundraisers, by the way. But
Yeah.
it's just funny how that is because it's not what they do every day.
Yeah.
And so everybody comes up with some great. I've got a great idea. Let's do this. And anybody ever have anybody on the board or the give a show of hands if you've had that. Thank you.
On the
Because
committee. Yeah.
on the committee that comes up with something and it's so far off left field, and you want to be polite,
Yeah.
but it's just out there, and you're like, oh yeah, that is a very nice idea. Thank you. But you've got to commit to giving these things out there to say, look,
And these
here are the
guidelines.
guidelines.
Yeah.
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 And we talked about
Herbs.
this a little bit, and Trevor's going through a deal with his little girl, his sweet little blondie, where they're doing a lot of coloring. And the big
Yeah.
thing, about coloring is learning to color inside the lines.
Yeah.
And
Point.
what you've got to do for your committees and your deal when you make this commitment to do these things is you've got to help them by giving them the lines to color in.
Yep.
Give them
They need
choice,
parameters.
give them options that work.
Yeah.
Give them viable options that that you can do, that you can fulfill. Yeah, sure. If somebody comes up every once in a while, they're going to come up with a great idea out of left field, but it doesn't
Yeah.
happen very often.
Yeah, and you don't want to, and you want to be open to that. You had a
Yeah.
really good idea. I keep referring to the pod because it was really, really good.
Mhm.
You had a really, really good idea, and we were alluding to this. Some of the greatest fundraisers we know, and we're having Amy Myers on next week. And with MDA, they actually have a book, like a guidebook. Like, this is how we fundraise, and it spells out exactly dates, goals, the focus of the committee, the expectation.
Well,
of the
and their committee drives the entire event. I mean,
It's
they're
very
it really is
committee driven.
driven. However,
Yeah.
to your point, it's not just a free for all.
It's certainly
And
not. It's
it
actually
is
very detailed.
Very,
Yeah.
very detailed. They have as long as you're playing in the sandbox, you can do anything you want to,
Yep.
but keep all the sand in the sandbox.
And you had a really
Stay
good
inside
idea
it.
about creating your own book. If you don't have one for your organization or for your event guidebook, start, if you have software, obviously you got a lot of data. Okay, great, this worked. Those kinds of things. And you're like, you had that idea the other day where, take, the event's over, take everything that worked, put that in the book. Okay, this is how we do this.
Yeah.
This is step one. And then it's not a bad exercise. It
And if
sounds like a
something
little bit of
didn't
work.
if something didn't work, we tried this and it sucked.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Note everything.
Write that in the book,
Yeah.
because I'm telling you, 3 or 4 years down the road, somebody will come up with that same idea, and this is your institutional knowledge on these events, and a lot of you
Yep.
have that, but we also know there's things that change and go on. So for the organization, somebody comes back going, yeah, man, this is a great idea. No, it's not.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
we did
It's
that 3
okay.
years
Yeah.
ago, and it was a loser.
No, we tried that. Hey,
Thank you.
you had a point about outreach and things of that nature. You talked about, like, hey, you were talking about pre-event fundraising,
Mhm.
sponsorships, underwriting, things like that. Part of the outreach would be sending out questionnaires about the previous event. I mean, give me some other examples of, just this real day-to-day examples
Well,
about the
I
outreach.
think in the beginning, this is the thing to get things kicked off. And in
Yep.
the beginning, I think you've got to reach out. You start sending out random stuff. If you want to send a questionnaire, I think that's really good. But
Okay.
send the questionnaire out to people that actually bought something.
Sure. Or
Don't send
bid.
it out to everybody. Don't.
Yeah.
This is when we talk about outreach. This isn't where we're just giving out flash information. This is
Yeah.
going to say where you took everybody that bought a trip or something.
Yeah.
And said, hope you're having a great new year. Have you, our event's coming up and we're looking at things. Is there some place that you think would be great to go?
Cool.
And
Yep.
give them 3 or 4 choices.
Yep.
Again, if you've got some things you're looking at, send it out and guess what? You'll do a little survey monkey poll, where
Mhm.
you do the deal and they just click something, one question, super simple. And you'll
Yeah.
be surprised how much response you'll get. And you'll know really quick what's going on.
Yeah, for sure.
And if the
Go ahead.
wild boar hunt is 100 to 1, it gets all the votes. Well, then you know what you're going to do.
For
But
sure.
don't put yourself in a situation where you're trying to go get all the masses, because the reality is
Yeah.
we're only looking at the top 10%.
Top
You can
10% in
get
general, and
so
then
much.
top 10% of the event a lot of times
Top
too.
10% of the event,
Yeah. Yep.
your
Yep.
donors, the people that gave you money,
Yep.
they're the ones that are going to move the needle, and you're going to get some favorable information, because everybody starts trying to focus on, for this part, the focus on the bottom 90. I don't care what the person that showed up that didn't give a nickel. I really don't care what they taught. I don't. Now I want them to have a good time. Don't misunderstand. I want their
Yeah.
experience to be
And you're gonna
positive,
thank
for them
them.
to go
Yeah.
away and go, I had the best time. And we'll talk about that when we get further in the acronym.
Okay.
But the main thing is you've got to focus on this is a fundraiser,
Yep.
FUND, fundraiser, not just a fun. We want to put the fun in fundraising, but you've got to raise money. I
Yeah.
mean, if this is 25% of your budget, it's pretty significant.
For a
We
lot of
can't have
orgs,
a
it's
bit.
even more. Yeah.
It can be,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
it's 50% of your budget, it doesn't matter. If it's
Yeah.
5%, it's significant,
Yeah.
and so we want to execute. And if it's worth doing, it's worth doing well.
Yeah.
It takes the same amount of effort to do a crappy event or an awesome event.
Yeah.
It
Agreed.
does. It's the
Agreed.
same amount of. It's so easy. I see this, and usually the one people that are running around like a chicken with their head cut off and reacting to everything, and everything's an emergency, and I'm in event season, I can't do this. It's time to do the event, and I've got to do the event. That's the worst event of all. It's
Yeah.
kind of vanilla.
Yep. Yep. Hey, um, our friend Abra, a great consultant, came on, just a good fundraiser. She came on, and I mean, we kind of already thought this, but she really put it in such an eloquent way. And if you have software, you have this data
Mm-hmm.
where you're selling something. Let's just say something sells in the live auction for $10,000, but one person won. For instance, it was a donated home or what have you. But there were other people that bid that maybe didn't buy anything else, but they bid $7,000, $8,000 to drive that cost up. You have software that shows you that when those bids were made. I think you include those people, even folks that didn't buy something, you include
Well,
those
that's why I
folks
say,
too.
if you look at the
Yeah.
top 10%, I'm
Yeah.
telling you, you take the top 10%, the people
Yep.
that bought stuff, the people that bid on stuff.
Yep.
Steve made a great point. He just put this in sent us over. He said they sent out a survey that went out to all the attendees. And guess who
Yeah.
gave them all the
Of
ideas?
course.
The people that didn't
Oh,
spend a
that's so
nickel.
common. Yeah.
Because that's
Yeah.
all they've
That's
got
that
is
funny.
opinions. They don't have
Yeah.
anything
Yeah.
else
Yeah.
to give.
Yeah. It's true. It's true.
And so that's the point. And so let's just leave those out. That's not what we don't, at this point, we're not after the event. Yeah, you can send a survey out and say, what'd you like?
For sure.
This is the deal where we've really got to do it. You have to be unshakable. The
I like
you
that.
in focus is to be unshakable in what you're going to do.
I like that.
I'm going to say, because I'm going to tell you just exactly to his point, you're going to get information that doesn't mean diddly.
Yeah. There's no value.
Somebody's going to come up to you, Jackie, and they're going to say, are you sure you want to do that? I don't know if that's really that good of an idea. I'm not sure, Jackie. Are you sure? It happens all the time. And what happens, that puts a seed of doubt
Yep.
in what we're doing. And exactly, that's the exact answer. Yes,
We know
I
you
am.
don't take that. You don't take that
And
flack, Jackie.
don't let those seeds of doubt from people that are not the strongest. Now, if you've got your number one donor that comes and sits down, you probably ought to pay attention, because if they've given you that much money, they have a vested interest in your success. Now, notice what I said, not control, success. Now, there are some type A personalities. I think of one right here in Oklahoma City. She's a billionaire. Okay. She is a freaking force to be reckoned with. And she comes in and she takes over an event. And the next thing you know,
Watch out.
it's gone. But here's what it is. It's gone from being $100,000 event to $1 million event. And she just makes it happen. Those kind of people you got to listen to, because they're a force to be reckoned with, and they wouldn't take no anyway. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about those little pieces, staff, board, committee, that will start chipping away at your plan, at your confidence about the mission that you've got. You must be unshakable. You have to set it firm, write it down, and then you refer back to this. No, this is the plan. This is what we are going to do. The nonprofit professionals that we deal with every year who have successful events are unshakable.
Yep.
They do not budge. They don't move. This is what we're going to do. Even whenever they get great stuff like this, sometimes I'll say, well, have you thought about this, Jason? This is what we're going to do. Yes, ma'am. Okay. And they're very successful at it,
Mm-hmm.
so because they've made that commitment,
Mm-hmm.
so you've got to commit to excellence and be unshakable in your plan. All right.
I love that.
The final one, and this is just, and then we'll take any questions that you have, because I want to get to this S, and then anything in this, is the show.
Make it memorable.
This is actually the event. You notice I didn't get to the show until I went through FOCU. This is the last part, okay, in having a great event. Because the most important part is that you have your goal. Because if you don't get that goal out here, you're not going to be able to get anywhere. Because you've got to have a goal. That way, when you do your outreach, you can share this with your stakeholders. It's Larissa, you've been a wonderful, wonderful help for us. We raised $100,000 last year. This year, our goal is to raise 200. We're going to double it. It's very significant. You're the first person I called, or you're in the top, you're one of the first people that I called, because I know that you care about our organization, and I want to talk to you about it, how we can make that move. That gets people excited.
For sure.
I told them what I did, what we're doing, what we're going to do. And so have those, that's why that, in that order, it's got to be this way. So when you get to the show, we know who is going to be there to help us. We've got that down because we've been having those conversations. We know we've got a plan. We know that we've got a goal. We have committed to it, and we are unshakable in what we're going to do. And so now we can go out here, and this takes all the pressure off, because now we can focus on having a show, because I know that I've got my top 10% engaged. I've reached out to them. Now, maybe they haven't come through with a full commitment. I've got somebody that's thinking about doing 50 grand, or maybe they're going to do 100. They're not sure yet. Okay, that's all right. But at least I'm having that conversation, not, well, who can I call for that 50,000 or 100,000? Right. And now we're going to go out here and we're going to put on a show. This is the part where you want everybody to walk away going, this was the coolest event ever.
For sure.
Being the most coolest event.
Especially now. There's a lot of competition with events.
That is so true. And, you don't need to make a circus out of it. Please don't misunderstand.
No, make it memorable.
When I say make a show, it doesn't have to be I'm not talking about making it a circus. What I'm talking about is being efficient. Everything's on cue. Everything is balanced. Everything is hitting on all the marks. Whenever people come in, they know exactly where they're going to go seat. Everybody knows their place and their part.
Mm-hmm.
That
check in and check out is easy.
All show. This stuff. Because a show, I remember watching one time, and I was when my daughter, when she was like 8 years old, I did an event for the ballet company for the University of Oklahoma, and they invited my daughter to come and be in the production of Nutcracker, and so she was a page. Okay, so we'd go there, and so it was the first time that I really got to see the back of a show and how it worked. I'd sat in the seats and watched the show in the front, but to really see how everything goes. A show is a orchestrated, planned production that's going to go off on all parts. That doesn't mean it's showtime, but back in the back, everybody's making sure that somebody's gotten the right, everybody's hitting their cues. And those are things that I see that happen a lot with nonprofits. They'll get to this point and it's kind of helter-skelter. And, it's kind of all over the place, and they don't have a run a show printed out. Mm-hmm. Does everybody here use a run a show? Everybody?
I hope so.
They use a professional show, production company or not. Does everybody have one? Does everybody know what a run a show is? There's a little thing that puts your hand up. Okay, Jackie does. All right, everybody else that doesn't, you got to get one, okay? A run of show is what you hand to everyone that they know where everything is during the event. Yep. At 6:50, even though my part doesn't start until 7:30, I know exactly what's going to go down at 6:50. Exactly. Where I need to be, what's going to happen, where everything's. So that way we have a run. Everybody knows. And even if, it's a very small event, and I hear folks saying, look, I've got a small event. Okay.
That's fine.
It's not very big. It's only myself and, 2 part-time staff members, and the board's not really all that engaged. I'm going to tell you, you need this stuff more than anybody else out
Sure.
there.
Be a real difference maker.
And it doesn't have to be any more than a timeline. That's basically what it is, that you print out, you put everybody on. It's well worth the time. Take
Hmm.
you 15, 20 minutes to do it, because that's where you figure out if you run out of time. And
Hmm.
I can't tell you how many, anybody ever been to an event and all of a sudden they go, holy smokes, it's 8:15 and we haven't even got through the dinner yet.
Yeah.
What are we going to do?
Yeah.
It happens.
Having that all
So
planned. Yep.
yeah, so having a show means planning out those specific details. If you want to do something cool and you want to have shots of Red Ball, come out and everybody's doing that, and y'all if y'all listen to this very much, you've heard me talk about that. We had a group that
Fireball.
it was a
Yeah.
Fireball. I'm sorry, I say
Yeah.
Red Ball.
Yeah. Yeah.
Red Bull, Fireball. They had Fireball
Fireball with
shots.
Red Bull. Yeah.
Sold it for
Delicious.
300. I think it was $300 a table.
It's awesome.
If you don't know what Fireball is, it's like $55 for a 55-gallon drum of it. It's very cheap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cinnamon schnapps kind of thing. And they did, and all these hands went up. Those guys, they raised like $3,000 or $4,000 just at the
Awesome.
front, and it was a very, very formal, hoity-toity big gala and all that. It was kind of fun. So.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you all those things that are possible. So that's the show. So
Well,
just
that's
remember,
entertaining. It's also entertaining.
yeah,
It's
but
fun. You
just
want to make it
remember
memorable.
focus.
Yeah.
It's just a simple acronym. If you need to know where you're going to be and what you're going to do, it's just a way that you can get your mind right on what you need
Oh,
to focus on. Because I think that so many times we are not sure where we need to go, especially when you're a small staff, especially when you're executive director and you don't have a DD, or you're the DD and your executive director's busy doing other stuff, running the nonprofit, and you're kind of feel like you're by yourself, and my committee's, what all's going on, and the board's disengaged. I hear that all the time. Well, they don't even know what they're supposed to do. So please just use this simple acronym again. It just to go back through it. I'll do it one more time so that way if you're writing it down and you can
and
see it on
questions for anyone.
set your financial goal, start your outreach immediately to the people. This is the top
Communicate.
10%. Start
Communicate.
communicating with them. And that means, picking up the phone, sending a text message. This is very, very personal stuff.
Lunch, coffee, all that. Yep.
Commit to what you're going to do. And then be unshakable about it. Don't once you commit, that means it's written in stone. Don't back up.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, don't forget to put on a show. So
love that. That's a good one. You're the author of that. That's really good.
Well, I had to put something together pretty fast, but those are things. It's all the same stuff. I had to just make sure I got the words right.
Yeah.
Unshakable I think is the most important one, and it was the one that I really struggled with for a U.
Oh, okay.
And the reason I say that is because I just have witnessed it in my life, where especially if you get like a really strong-willed donor or somebody who comes in
You'll
there,
bend too quick.
and there are people that just have those personalities that are strong personalities, and they come in and go, well, I think we ought to do this, this, this. And, maybe you're not have that spicy personality like that. And you're kind of sitting there going, well, I appreciate that. I really do. And I appreciate your insight, but we've already committed to this plan, and we're going to do this. And this is where we're going to be. You got to be unshakable, because they will try to knock you off your perch.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that, knock you off center, they're not intentional. They're not trying to
most of the time it's
disrupt
not
you,
mean spirited,
but they just do it because they don't know any better.
Yeah.
So
there's a filter, no filter maybe, or they feel like they earned it.
yeah.
And a lot of them probably they have equity with the organization. So I totally get it. Yeah. It's a tough spot to be in.
Hit us with a question or if something that you
any questions for anybody
disagree with.
Yeah.
I really like that feedback, because this is just based on what I'm seeing. Trevor and I see across the country dealing with different things, the ones that are successful and the ones that aren't. But if there's something in there that you agree, disagree, or you got a clarification on, please, I'd love to do it or expand on. We got almost 30 minutes left. We're happy to expand on any of those if you would like us to.
Love it. Yeah. Or any, or, hey, are you planning right now? Hopefully this is a nice encouragement and a nice nudge.
Well, just let me just ask, who all has an event in 90 days, within the next 90 days? One. Anybody else? Just Paula? Okay. So let's talk about that for Paula for just a little bit. So Paula, do you have all your, my thing would be is the check boxes is okay, Paula, let me ask you this. I'm going to is it within 60 days? Okay, so
No.
it's
Okay.
so 90 days. So within
Okay.
so March or April you're going to have your event. Okay. So back to the same thing about focus. If you don't have your financial goal, you definitely got to make that. Outreach would be my number one focus right now. My number one thing I would be working on is outreach and making sure that I've got all my underwriting, my all my sponsorships done, making sure
Mhm.
those key relationships are pulled in, because that's where everything gets real. The make or break of the event. 70% of the dollars raised, for us, what we recommend is that you have 70% of your money raised before you walk
Committed.
in the
Yeah.
door, before
Yep.
make that commitment already happen. And that's going to be your sponsorships, table underwriting, and possibly, fund a need gifts and commitments.
Yeah, like a match. Yeah.
So, and if you can walk in the door, if you're wanting 100,000 and you've got 70 and you hit that mark of 70, you
That's
can
a
raise
great spot.
30,000 the night of the event. That's not going to be
Yep.
a problem.
Yep.
But getting those other ones, and again, we're talking about net dollars, so keep those things in mind. You may have to raise 200,000, even if you're very frugal. You got to raise 200,000 to raise 100, because you still have to have stuff. I mean, you still got to pay
Yep.
the facility and
AV,
doing all that. And I know
food.
everybody wants to say, well, we're the tightest ship in the shipping, in the funding business. Yeah, I get all that, but it does take money to spend to make money. And
And you
again,
want to
you
put
want to
on a
put a
show.
show on. You want
Yeah.
to put on a show. You don't want to put on a spaghetti dinner.
Yeah.
So,
Gosh,
so
folks, speaking of that, it's folks are getting so creative with events. You know, like you said, you don't want it to be a circus, but I've seen trapeze. No, I don't know. It's like people were hanging from something, or oh no, it was this. There was like a tray of champagne hanging from the ceiling. It was in this very eloquent or elegant way, and I was like,
mhm.
wow, it's so cool because the client of ours was sending me pictures of how creative they got. I think that kind of stuff's really really fun, and I think donors and supporters, I think investors really, really respond to that, especially these days. There's so much
Well, it's
competition.
memorable. It's something
Yes,
that's memorable.
precisely. Yes.
But one thing that I want to mention to you, it could be the most memorable thing. You could have a circus going on and artists and people dancing and jumping around and an elephant in the room and all
Hmm.
this kind of thing, and you know 50 clowns in a Prius. You can do all that kind of stuff. But if your check-in's not manned, your checkout's not a smooth process,
Hmm.
if you don't have a good clarification on what's your deal, your show, your run of show is not smooth,
Good
that's what they're gonna,
items.
or the food sucks,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. That's a deal breaker,
It
unfortunately.
doesn't have to, it doesn't have to be fantastic. It just can't suck,
Yeah.
because
Good
people
call.
tend to remember that stuff. And so focus on those, those are the details in the show.
Oh,
Um,
good. Yep. Good, good,
yeah,
good.
Paula, we're
Yeah,
happy to
please reach
see
out.
that.
Yeah, well, that's a good nudge. Thanks, Paula. Yeah, reach out. You can go to hjafundraising.com and click on the free coaching button. We can talk you through all this. Jason does a really, really great thing called a people exercise that you can use with your committee for your event and maximize those relationships. Any questions about this kind of stuff, we're happy to help, of course.
I want to just invite you, if you've not, to doing this. If you're listening to this on the recording now, there's no fee for this. It's really simple. You go to hjfundraising.com. You can email me directly, jason@hjfundraising.com, or trevor@hjfundraising.com. But you can go to hjfundraising.com, click on coaching. Okay. Go down there, put it in your calendar. You get to fit it at your calendar. We've got some
Hmm.
parameters for it, but do that. Sign up for a session, cost you nothing. There's no deal. We'll spend
Hmm.
an hour with you. Okay,
Hmm.
to talk about anything you want to talk about within the fundraising world.
Hmm.
Literally, it's your time.
Yeah, I like
And,
that.
it's really interesting because I'm not an expert at anything, but I've seen a lot. I've experienced a lot. And that's really what we try to do. And Trevor and I, we just want to share that,
Yeah,
because
share
we get to see
what we see, the
again.
success.
In
Yeah.
2023, we touched 1,000 events, over 1,000 events that
Yeah.
we impacted. That's a lot.
Yeah. a lot
And
of
so we get
data.
all this data and all this experience share, and we see the train wrecks and we see
Hmm.
the triumphant.
We hear about all of them.
Okay, we
Yeah,
hear about all of them and in between, and so those are really, and the train wrecks are just as good for us to learn from and share that knowledge as the ones that are just the superstar, knock
for
it out of the
sure.
park,
For sure.
because we get to hear all that and see and learn from all that and just pass that on. And so when we talk about this stuff, it's not because we know everything and we're the great. It's not that at all. We
We're
just have
information
access. We
vessels.
just have access to a lot of information, I
We're
think.
vessels for information and kindness and
I
and
go
good
no go.
fortune in 2024.
Hmm. Um, who all is doing an event this year in 2024 that your goal has changed significantly?
Good question.
Anybody here have that?
Okay,
Okay.
good. Awesome, Paula.
Paula,
Yep.
Paula, what just percentage wise, what's different this year than what's would you mind sharing that with us?
Yes, we can
I
help with that sponsorship list. Yeah. Like a
Yeah,
number
I
or something.
think
Yeah.
I think whenever we start thinking about this and doing this, and if it's significant, okay, I want to just, and this is part I want to share with this. So when you're thinking about your event and you're doing it, what I the successful people that I know that blow the doors off, and we'll hear more about this next week when we have Amy here, but that do really, really well, is they plan their event so that if everything goes wrong, if the weather doesn't cooperate,
They're
the
still
stock
hitting their
market
number.
crashes,
Yeah.
everything goes sideways, they're going to hit their number.
Yep.
Absolutely positive, they're going to hit it.
Yep.
But they put enough headroom in there so if everything goes right, where the weather's perfect, the stock market rallied, all these things, and I just use those for simplicity, but all these things go really well, they're able to achieve a much higher number and they hit those record breakers.
Mhm.
Amy's going to talk, and I'm going to invite her to share this story. they
Yeah.
they had an event where they were going to raise, it was a big event, $500,000, and they raised over $1 million. And the reason is because they planned it with the headroom, so that way if everything went well, they could go up more. But if everything went sideways, they were still going to hit their goal.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of times as fundraisers, we get caught up in the minutia of the stuff, and we're focusing on all the crap that doesn't matter. What's the invitation going to look like? What's the centerpiece going to look like? Who
Right. Right.
cares?
Yeah.
Nobody remembers the centerpieces. They don't, except it was in the way and I couldn't see. Um, but whenever they come back and they see that, it makes such a big impact um, for that event. And I just would highly encourage you guys, just don't let the minutia get cloud your vision. It's
Mhm.
there. It's going to do. It will happen. Okay. I
Mhm.
promise you, you're going to wind up with some centerpieces. You're going to get the invitations out. You're going to get your book if you're still doing a book. You're going to get the AV. That's all going to come together, and you're going to get your run a show put together, and blah blah. All this that stuff will happen, but having those big pieces, focusing on that, not letting all this other chatter get in your way, having focus, making sure that you're dealing with that top 10%, making sure that you're doing the communication, that you're doing your outreach. That's what's going to be the most impactful for your event in 2024,
No
period.
question. Yep.
There's a lot of money in the system,
No question.
still a lot.
Yep. Oh
Go
yeah.
get it. Go
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Yep. And if you need some encouragement, that's why we're here. So good stuff. Any other questions for us or anything like that we can get to? Not trying to kick anybody off, but any questions that we can answer while you have the two of us? And we'll drum up a winner for a special prize.
I'm working that right now.
Oh, okay. Cool. What's the special prize today, Jay?
The special prize is $500 in HGA bucks.
Five. Wow. Okay. That was more than I thought it was going to be. That's awesome, man.
Is that too much?
That's really generous of you. That's really generous. That's awesome.
Oh, okay. Sorry. It's
No,
100.
I think it's great. I think
I
it's
don't know. It's
great.
the first one of the year. It's the first
I
name that
love
popped
it. I love
it
it.
popped in my mind.
HGA
I'm
bucks.
going big. I'm going big.
So you,
Tell them what an HGA buck
I'm here.
is.
I'm here. Yeah, 500 ducats that you can use towards any of our items in our catalog of items at your next event that you can apply towards the cost of one of those items. HGA bucks. No, we do not have our own bank, but we do like giving away free money, I think, right? It's basically how to put
That's
it, right?
basically what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So in
free
other words,
money.
if it's a
So,
if it's a $2,000 item, it becomes 1,500. So that's just money that's going to go right back to you. So
yes.
so yeah, it's cool.
Yep. Don't be
Okay,
afraid to cash it in.
I'm getting there. Hold on. And Ruthann, you're the winner.
Hi,
Everybody give
Ruth
Ruthann a
Ann.
big
Far
hand.
out. Congratulations. That's cool. Ruth Ann,
Ruthann,
when's
you're the
your
winner.
event? Yep. You can use it for your next event. And you'll be getting something to redeem those HGA bucks within 24 hours with the recording. And thanks so much for coming. Appreciate it. Yeah. And thanks everybody else as well. Thanks Paula for sharing. Thanks, Steve, for sharing. Good to see you, brother. Happy New Year. Hope everyone's having a great New Year so far. 2024 is going to be an amazing year. And oh, yes, and a quick plug for next week's webinar. Next Thursday, January 18th, Amy Myers is going to come on. We're going to talk about, yeah, planning your fundraising out properly. She's got a whole book on it, and they do a great job. So no one better to talk about it in real time because that's what she does on a regular basis with her whole team across the nation. So tune in with us next year, or excuse me, next week, next Thursday, the 18th, and we'll see everybody there. Jay, thank you, brother.
Thank you, everybody.
Yep.
We really
Have a great
appreciate
rest of
you.
the week. Thanks so much.
All right. Hey, Paul, if you're still here, just yeah, absolutely connect with us, and we'll connect again. Okay.
I know she will. That's awesome.
Awesome.
See you, brother.
Thanks, brother. I'll see you.